because we have no background, it was so inefficient. Like, so now, of course, each cake has a sticker. So we'll print off a sticker which says exactly the order. We didn't have that. So my brother used Excel spreadsheet, had our orders put in there. I'd have to look back at the Excel spreadsheet, remember the flavor of the cake that's, like, obviously I can't check what flavor my cake is. It was so inefficient. Orders got mixed up. It was just a lot of learning curves. But yeah, I would bake, decorate, the Instagram content, everything up until, I don't know, when my brother started baking. And then when we moved into the kitchen, I haven't baked in like over a year, which is like amazing. I'm so obsessed with things because I hyper-focus, that's what it's called. So yeah, when I first made the macaroon, I was obsessed. And then when I made that cupcake and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing, completely consumed. I was watching tutorials. All my TikTok was full of cake. When I say I lived, breathed, and dreamt of cake, I would go to sleep dreaming of like piping. He called me, and this was when I was doing hot chocolate bombs, and he was like, Amy, I really think you should make this into a business, like an actual business. And I was like, what? No, I'm just doing it for fun, extra money on the side. I remember I made my first £80 and I was like, I can't believe I just made £80 in one day.
Now let's talk about that cake you're about to go make, maybe even while listening to this podcast. I want to know what you're going to present it in. A basic box with extenders, wrapped in cellophane? I really hope not. There really is a simpler way to go about this by using Albans tall cake boxes. They're super strong, luxurious. They assemble in a minute with no extenders, no cellophane, and no fuss. Best of all, you get peace of mind when you hand it to your customer for its journey home, knowing it will arrive safely. You've just spent hours making that cake, so why not present it in something that shows it off? Check us out at www.alba.shop. St. Albans, just north of London, is where you'll find this little village with lush green rolling hills and a rather large pink cottage. That's the home of Amy. She's a 24-year-old baker who runs her own cake business. But she started very recently, in 2020. And since then, she's already moved into a commercial kitchen. When we found out about Amy, we just had to get her on the show, as the pace of growth that she's gone through is quite inspiring. She's not a baker. She started doing this right after finishing her university degree. She hasn't even started any other career. And yet the pandemic decided to set a new path for her. Yeah, she's one of those bakers who came out about as a part of the pandemic. But the story of how it all comes together is what I find quite fascinating. Amy's attitude, drive, and focus is really visible in our conversation, and she tells us exactly why she is the way she is and how she's used that to her advantage. To be 24 again. Anyway, let's get right to it and hear Amy's story. Enjoy. All right, Amy, this is brilliant. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today. And this is really cool. You are definitely one of the youngest bakers to come on the show.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
and I would even argue probably one of the bakers with the shortest baking career professionally, considering you started in lockdown.
Yeah.
So we need to go a little bit before lockdown then. And I've seen your pink cottage that you live in, which you nicknamed the Bakehouse. So what I want to know is that the family home where you grew up and where you started baking, or your mum started teaching you baking? How did this all come about?
My house has always been pink. My dad decided to paint it one day. We actually really sadly just moved from it, but I've lived there. I'm 24. I've lived there my whole life, and my dad just decided to paint it pink. I have two older brothers, and they were very against that. We actually used to have little animals on the roof as well, like little thatched animals, because it's like a thatched cottage. My mum never baked. She liked cooking, but I never baked growing up, like just as much as anyone does, really. Like as a kid, always loved sweet things, but yeah, never was really in the kitchen baking. So how I came to do it was, obviously it was lockdown. I went to university, didn't study any like arty thing or anything. It was lockdown. It was my last year at uni and I had nothing to do. Lockdown had just started. I was on TikTok, as everyone was, at the very beginning of TikTok and came across some macaroons. And obviously bored as hell, I was like, why don't I just try and make them? Not knowing they're the hardest thing to make, and it depends on the weather outside. If it's raining, it won't work because of the humidity, and it's all very strange. But made them miraculously, and they looked incredible. Then it was my friend's birthday, and I was like, oh, I'll bake her some cupcakes. Like, so bored. Had like a nozzle in our pantry for some reason, and I was just, it was my first ever rosette I'd ever done, and it was the most perfect rosette I've probably ever done. I was just like, what? I actually just created that. Anyway, brought them to my friend. She was like, I don't believe that you made these. Anyway, then I couldn't find a job. So I ended up going to Israel for 4 months. It was lockdown there as well, but I had nothing to do. I just went on a program. And whilst I was there, I was like, what am I going to do when I get home? Like, it's still lockdown. I have absolutely nothing to do. Didn't really have much work experience because I just never got around to doing that. Was like looking for jobs online, and I just messaged my mum going, Amy's Bakehouse. And she replied going, oh my God, Amy, what are you doing? Like, this is not going to work. Like, this is not a career. Like, anyway, she was nice about it, but she was just like head in hand type moment. And I started an Instagram page. So I wasn't really doing much in Israel. So I was just like playing around with like logos and stuff. And then I was like, pink house, like that would be really cool. And then when I got home, I just started baking hot chocolate bombs because like no one had really been doing them, and they were incredible, if I'm honest, like the nicest things ever. All different flavors, Maltesers, Snickers, and they were really yummy. And then it kind of just evolved from there. But when people would come and collect, every single person would be like, oh my God, your house is pink. Like, can I get a picture? Like, so that's kind of how the identity of the logo came from, which I just thought was really cool.
I mean, let me just interject here because I've got to go back to this pink house for a second, right? Your dad chose the color. Your brothers objected. You know, you had these animals on the roof. What was your dad going for here? What was the color before even? I'm just trying.
It was white.
It was just a white cottage house.
Yeah, I don't know why. It just got pinker over the years as well because every time we paint it would just get pinker. It was this bright pink cottage. And we had like little dogs on the roof and peacocks on the roof, and like they were all made out of thatch. And it was pretty bizarre, to be honest, but I loved it. I mean, like, girl growing up 7 years old, obsessed that she's got a pink cottage. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah, it sounds quite enchanting, right?
Do you have quite a creative family? Is your dad in media or some kind of creative outlet?
So my dad's dyslexic, as am I and my brother. But my brother and my dad kind of went down like the finance route. My mum is very creative. Her parents were in fashion. So growing up, I loved arts and crafts. Like for my friends' birthdays, I would make them like cool cards or posters and stuff like that. But I just never experimented with baking. And I think growing up, I thought there wasn't any money necessarily in the creative sector I would go down because obviously art, very competitive. I wasn't amazing at art or drawing at all. I just liked being creative with like different materials and stuff. So I always thought, like I did politics at A level, like I always thought to make money, I'd have to go down that route. So I think when I realized I can make something look beautiful and you can eat it, like I really think the main thing about the baking industry is that obviously people love food, and the fact that it looks incredible and it's for birthdays that happen every single year. It's kind of a really safe industry to go down. And I do think I'm really lucky and blessed because I have found all these things that do make quite a stable career in terms of like, if like, yeah, we go into a recession, people save up for birthdays. Like birthdays are this special thing one time a year. I'm going to save up for that cake. So I feel like we can add such a special aspect that can earn a living. I think I am very lucky in that sense. Like if I were to go make a clothing brand, I think I would struggle a lot more because it's so much more competitive. A cake, it markets itself. When you go to a birthday, 20 people ask, oh, who made that? No one's going to say, 20 people aren't going to say, where's your top from?
I think the advantage of you starting this business in lockdown was that you could see that product, your cake, was actually going to work. Like it was the last thing that people were going to remove from a birthday celebration, whereas a lot of other things got removed. But cake, especially in the UK, is such an institution. Like everyone has a birthday cake, right?
Yeah.
So the advantage of you doing this and creating and building that brand and starting to post on TikTok, and on Instagram was that you could see that people were still willing to spend that.
Yeah. See, I actually looked at it from the complete opposite perspective, and I was like, is this just a lockdown thing? Do people only buy birth? Because we've never been a cake family. Like, we on birthdays, we never really bought cakes. I don't know why. But in lockdown,
This is really like,
it's the opposite.
it's so funny. It's just come out of nowhere. The concept of baking and cakes and then straight into a business within.
Like, if you would have told me like 2 years ago that I would own a baking company, I'd bet money on it that would not be the case. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur and own my own business. Baking was never, like, food, like, never. Like, I don't have any history, and all I've done is, like, obviously food hygiene and that, and I'm self-taught, like, online, but yeah, I never had it. So in lockdown, my family, we were worried because we said, are people only getting cakes because it's lockdown and people don't have anything to do and they want to celebrate birthdays? But then what I realized is people are buying after lockdown. Now the cakes are even bigger because obviously more people, they were all tiny cakes before.
I'm really interested, right? So March 2020, we went into lockdown. That first thing that you started was a macaron, and I've spoken about this before, but it took me a good 50 attempts to get like the macaron consistent. So to get that nailed straight away, and then going on, like, what was your journey onwards? Was it you went into like hot chocolate bombs, but this is like, are you buying baking equipment? Are you just like, are you obsessed? Are you consuming content? To go into a position to start selling that product at the end, you know, it baffles me because I think, you know, most of us like spend quite a bit of time like practicing technique and getting good at baking, but you've just gone like this very short, rapid, and maybe that's because of lockdown. Maybe you're quite an obsessive person. I don't know. That's why I'm trying to unpeel. Like, where did this, you know, were you waking up dreaming about, all right, I need to try and make this today, or I need to...
Literally everything you just said. So firstly, I'm ADD. So I've only learned recently that I am obsessed with things because of that. So I was recently on a podcast for dyslexia and ADD, and we were speaking about it, and I came to learn, I didn't realize I'm so obsessed with things because I hyperfocus, that's what it's called. So yeah, when I first made the macaroon, I was obsessed. And then when I made that cupcake and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing, completely consumed. I was watching tutorials. All my TikTok was full of cake. When I say I lived, breathed, and dreamt of cake, like I would go to sleep dreaming of like piping, and I actually got to the point because it was lockdown, so there wasn't anything else to do as well. So I was like, this is unhealthy. So I would wake up, go downstairs, put the buttercream on straight away, then eat some breakfast, and then just bake the whole day. And I wasn't like practicing for customers. I think the whole chocolate bomb thing came because I was like, there are other people doing baking and I know that they probably got the market. So how am I going to be different? So I was like, the hot chocolate bombs, I was like, this is so cool. I could get these in store. Like, I was obsessed with, I want to grow so quickly. Obviously, didn't go down the route of putting them in store or anything. M&S and everyone else got there first, but the hot chocolate bombs really made me stand out. And I had so many orders for them because no one else was doing them. Everyone else was bored at home. And then when I slowly moved into cupcakes and cakes, I was first doing them for like family, and then it did just grow organically. Instagram back then was a bit different to Instagram now. And my first cakes were obviously awful, but compared to someone I had never made a cake before. My first cake was straight. It was crazy. Obviously, it looked awful back then, but I got really good so fast because I am creative and I'm obsessed and I'm a perfectionist. So all those things really did make it increase so fast that it just got people asking, how long have you been doing this? And it just doesn't really make any sense. But I have to get it right. So I think watching so much really helped.
Did it give you confidence that you could actually do it? There's something like that first macaron batch that you got out, or that pipe in that perfect cupcake swirl. When you did it perfectly, did that just fuel you to carry on?
Yeah, obviously when you do something and then you're like rewarded for it, you're like, you want to continue and it motivates you. But I never thought this would be a business at first. I always said to my friends, this is just for lockdown. I will do it on the side. I know it can't make money. I was determined this will not make money. I know where my value is. Like I didn't see it as a business. And then it wasn't until I think it was January. I don't know which year. Obviously, I hadn't started long before, but my brother was doing startup. Didn't really go to plan. So he was in Dubai for a few weeks, and he called me, and this was when I was doing the hot chocolate bombs, and he was like, Amy, I really think you should make this into a business, like an actual business. And I was like, what? No, I'm just doing it for fun, extra money on the side. I remember I made my first £80, and I was like, I can't believe I just made £80 in one day. Like, obviously I never had a job or anything before, so I was like, and I just made a few hot chocolate bombs. And he was like, I really think that you should stick to the hot chocolate bombs. Like, I don't think you should go into cakes or anything. And I was like, I think, yeah, amazing niche, narrow, like identity, etc. But they're hard to make, they're long to make, they are seasonal, really, aren't they? So I don't make a hot chocolate bomb, and I'm like, wow, like I make a piece of art cake, and I'm like, that's incredible. So I think that was my first thought of actually doing a business. I think it took someone else to really be like, you know, you can make this into a business, someone I took seriously and admired. So I think when that really stems, okay, we're going to do this. And then it was actually my first, we got, you know, Kruka, the hot water tap company. My brother knew someone there, and they were looking for someone to do hot chocolate bombs. So my first actual big order was they asked for 3,000 hot chocolate bombs every month for like 4 months. Slapped them up to Manchester.
Oh, gosh.
We drove these hot chocolate bombs in a freezing cold car because obviously they'd melt. We had blanket. I didn't know how to like temper chocolate. I have no history in baking. We were wearing blankets, and like the fan and the aircon was on, and it was winter. It was freezing for like 3 hours there, dropped them off, took them home. And that was when my brother really came on board, because obviously I couldn't do 3,000 hot chocolate bombs on my own. And that was the beginning of us as business partners.
Would you say that's the point where in the back of your mind you're thinking this side business where I have a degree, you have a international media degree, is that correct?
Yeah, it was international media with Italian, and it was nothing to do with media. It sounds a lot more creative than it was. It was more.
What was the career plan there? I sound like you're probably your parents now. Where are you going with that?
I never knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to go to uni, even though I didn't want to be a lawyer or anything. Like probably reasons you should go to uni for. I went and I did well in my A-levels, so I had options, but I kept switching between unis because I didn't know where my friends were going, and I ended up switching to a course just to merely get through the door. First week of freshers, I was meant to change because I'm dyslexic, so awful at languages, like not a course I wanted to do. It wasn't actually about media or anything. Obviously, I didn't switch because it's freshers and I'm not focusing on work. Stuck with the course for 3 years with a course I didn't want to do. And well, obviously, when you're learning a language, you actually have to turn up. So obviously, I wasn't turning up because you don't really go to uni the first year, really. And came out with a good degree because at the end, I just worked my arse off. And that degree, I didn't need to do it, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't go to uni, if I didn't take that degree, if lockdown didn't happen. If lockdown didn't happen, I would never knew I could bake.
Yeah.
So all these things happen for a reason, and so I don't like regret any of that, really.
No, that's good, because there is that point where you switch over and you think this is really what I'm going to do. And your brother is probably a catalyst there in that, with some of his experiences to say, hang on, there's something here. Was he bringing the business part of it to you in terms of operations, finances, or things like that?
Yeah. So at first, his role was he built me a website, which was incredible because he'd never done one before. He taught himself to code a bit and built a website on Shopify. It took weeks and weeks, but because obviously as well with cake, you're creating, I'm not like a cake, like these are all our set cakes and that's that. It's a bespoke cake. So we had to create a page, which not many, I actually don't think, because at the moment we're getting our website redone, and they've said to us, there's not one cake place that does a page that is so bespoke up to the point you pick your drip, all of like what type of icing you want. It's very difficult. Yeah. So he had to do that because we wanted to get rid of the Instagram messages. It was too much. Like I know there are so many bakers out there that's how they do it, but couldn't do it. He built me a website. It was amazing. It looked so professional. And then he started on like marketing emails and stuff that I had never even thought of doing. And then we were in my family home. We were very privileged to have a large kitchen, but we took over it every single day. Like my poor mother. Like, we also had a cleaner, and she would just spend her whole day in the kitchen with us. It was chaotic every day, but it was fun. And the first time I went to Booker, so our wholesaler. I went there with my dad, and he was like, this was at the very beginning, like when I was doing hot chocolate bombs, and he was like, you've got £500, you can spend it all, or, which I should have taken this option, or every time we go to Booker, I'll pay for 20% of it. So obviously I should have taken the latter, knowing what I would have done now. You probably wouldn't have gone ahead with it anyway. But I remember buying a pot of jam. It was like a 1 kilogram pot of jam. And I was like, it goes off in like a year. I don't think I'll be able to use this all in a year. Now, obviously, you go through a pot of jam every hour. So it's just so funny, like looking back at, I bought all these sweets, and I basically had a sweet shop for a pantry, and it was a sweet shop, so it was amazing. But yes, we were in my kitchen, and then my brother was like just helping out with manually inputting orders and sending out emails, like marketing emails and stuff like that. And then as it grew, I couldn't make the sponge anymore because it was only just one person. So I taught my brother how to make the sponge. This was still in our family home. He would cook all the sponge, I would decorate. And that was kind of the dynamic. It was more him just like making the sponge because there were only 2 people. We couldn't do it all. And then it was until, which was just everything happens for a reason, my sponge, I remember making one cake and it was raw. And it had gone out to the customer. And they obviously came back and said it's raw. Something was up with our oven, basically. And we were like, this is awful. Like, obviously, everything's based on reputation. And we reached out to my uncle who knew a caterer with maybe we could like borrow his oven. So we reached out to him and hired an oven. It wasn't really going well. And he basically said, well, why don't you just come in and use my oven? So we went to St. Albans where his kitchen is. And we were like, this is great. And he was like, well, I'm not really here much. You can have half of it. Obviously pay rent. You can have half of it. I'm only really here a few hours every other day or so. And we were like, this is a massive step. Can we afford this? Like, anyway, obviously it was the best thing we ever did. We're still here now. And if it wasn't for that, like all timings were cut in half. Everything was made so much quicker. We've got an oven that can fit 800 cupcakes in. It was just an absolute game changer. And it kind of just snowballed from there.
So, Amy, were you still baking on your own? Obviously, you got your brother who's helping you with the back end admin and promoting, which is a massive part of the bakery, right? Just having someone to be able to do all of that and take away that headspace. But I'm curious, like during this whole time, even before you went into the commercial, are you the sole baker?
Baking the sponge?
Baking everything, baking and then decorating.
Yeah, I did everything. I don't know when it was that my brother started making the sponge. I think when it got to the point where I just had too many cakes to make in one day. But because we have no background, it was so inefficient. Like, so now, of course, each cake has a sticker. So we'll print off a sticker which says exactly the order. We didn't have that. So my brother used Excel spreadsheet, had our orders put in there. I'd have to look back at the Excel spreadsheet, remember the flavor of the cake that's, like, obviously I can't check what flavor my cake is. It was so inefficient. Orders got mixed up. It was just a lot of learning curves. But yeah, I would bake, decorate, the Instagram, like content, everything up until, I don't know, when my brother started baking. And then when we moved into the kitchen, I haven't baked in like over a year, which is like amazing. I just decorate the cakes. But obviously baking is a large part. And I would go into my fridge and see all the sponge and I'd be like, oh, that was magically just appeared overnight. But obviously it's hard.
There must have been some really long days and like really...
Yeah, 100%. We didn't take lunch breaks. We weren't like early birds. We didn't get up at 4, but we'd start at like 8 and finish at 9 sometimes. Like back at home, I never finished before 8:30, 9 at night. I always finished super, super late.
But this is your hyper-focused personality here that's probably pushing you through all this, right? I mean, That's not going to go away when you're really doing something that you really want to do and make happen and you're a perfectionist. You will stop at nothing, it sounds like, to make sure it goes. Yes, you've got some connections that you've leveraged to bring you into a unit and a commercial kitchen and such, but you're still driving it. It's not like someone else is pushing you. But I am curious though, like you're going from ironing out these inefficiencies that you found in the business. Where did you find help in that space to figure out what you were doing or how you could make things better? Or did you just sit down and say, okay, we've got to figure out our own way here to do things a little bit differently?
I think frustration drove that, to be honest. the fact that I was finishing at 9 o'clock at night. And now when I come in, I get in for 9 and I leave at 5, and I make sure, sometimes I leave a bit later, I get in a bit earlier, but I do make sure I have that like 9 to 5 job, because I know that burnout will, of course, I will get burnout if I'm just here all the time, and mentally you need to switch off, which obviously I don't ever switch off, but leave the kitchen. But it just got to the point where I was like, this isn't working. We can't carry on doing it this way. It takes too much time. Everything's getting mixed up. And you just had to learn for yourself. We didn't know that stickers were a good thing to do. Lola's, for example, I know that they do a sheet for every cake. It's an A4 sheet. And I'm like, how on earth does that stay with the cake? We put a sticker on a board and it says everything about the cake. It's amazing. It's the best thing we've ever done. And I know loads of people that don't do that. And I don't know how they get through, to be honest, because I can't remember what each cake is. But the inefficiencies, we just had to learn over time. There wasn't someone that said, look, you're doing it wrong. The fact that we do share a kitchen with caterers is unbelievable. And they don't specialize in baking, but they say, why don't you do it this way? You like to make things more efficient. We still to this day have problems with sponge if it doesn't rise in the right way, and we'd have to throw it out. But we're learning all the time. I don't think a company will ever be as efficient as it can be. There will always be things to work on, always. So it's just about learning, recognizing that we could be better in this way, and trying to adapt and figure out how to make it more efficient.
I was just going to say, how important has this relationship with your brother been going into business? I was just saying to Haf before we actually got on this call, Amy must be doing this with someone, like, to grow this rapidly, and there must be someone else who's helping her, guiding her, or, you know, just someone to bounce off. And a lot of the people we've spoken to on this podcast who have expanded beyond their own kitchens have had someone else, whether it's a partnership or a brother sister or sister, or we've had twin dynamics, you know. And I just want to understand for you, like, how important that has been for both of you, but just to have someone that, I guess, that you can get to the point of having a massive argument with, but then just still being friends with afterwards, effectively.
It's not easy. It is not easy. My brother's 4 years older than me, I think, or 5. I've always been his little sister. We used to fight when we were younger. I think the fact that he stopped his job at a certain time and I didn't have a job was 100% fate. And I could never, ever have done this without my brother. You can hire someone, but they're not going to care at 10 p.m. at night. They're not going to call you at 12 p.m. and say, oh, we didn't do this. Or they're not going to care. Of course they're not. Why would they? And at the start, obviously, when we were only making a little bit of money, my brother was just doing it. He didn't see it as his future. He was just doing it to help me while he didn't have a job. Like with the whole Kruger thing, he was just doing it to help me. Obviously, we bang heads all the time. He does see me as his little sister. So I understand why it's quite hard to have such a professional relationship at times. But the fact that we would have a massive fight and then just be like, right, we've got to carry on and forget about it. We are lucky in the sense to be able to be so honest with each other. It is obviously very hard, but I love my brother, and the fact that we've built this together is incredible. And obviously it has taken our brother and sister relationship out a bit. Like when we go for family dinners, we talk about work. We only ever talk about work. And we almost need to put a pin on it and say, when we're out with family, we're not talking about work. Like, we've got this delivery tomorrow and blah, blah, blah. But it's nice being in a company with family. And my whole family helps out, to be honest. At the very beginning, my mum was the one doing all the toppers. So my mum bought a cricket machine when we was in our home, and she would be doing all the toppers. So my brother would make a list of all the toppers she would do. She would get incredibly stressed, probably have a breakdown at least once a day. And she would do all the toppers. I didn't know how to work it or anything. So it really was a whole family helping out at first. But obviously now it's just me and my brother, and it's going really well, but it is difficult at times, definitely.
The other brother isn't involved?
No, he's not.
Okay.
Yeah, he just watches from the sidelines.
Maybe he gets to enjoy some of your cakes.
Yeah. He's definitely our number one cheerleader, though. Yeah.
I want to talk about cupcake boxes, especially if you need room for tall ones or floral cupcakes. There's never really been a cupcake box on the market that gave you the confidence to safely transport them without damaging them. Nor has there been anything that makes it easy to place or remove cupcakes without ruining those pretty decorations. Until now. The Alba cupcake box fixes all these issues. Plenty of height, strong, and a gorgeous cupcake box that opens fully into a built-in serving tray. No mess, no fuss, no cupcake teeth, and no damage. Even your customers will appreciate just how easy it is to open the box and serve right from the tray. Check them out at www.alba.shop.
Okay, so then through your experience so far in running your business, you've even had some pretty interesting accolades. So we were trying to dig up some things like, you've done a giant brownie for David Beckham. You've been recognized in the top 40 under 40 Jewish entrepreneurs. All these things are coming at you.
Yeah. You forgot that she was featured in The Sun too.
Oh, that's right. You've been in The Sun as well. So all these things are coming at you, right? How do you deal with this? So you just sort of roll with it and just say, oh, it's just another day at Amy's Bakehouse? Or does it make you stop for a second and say, whoa, okay, now I'm a little bit nervous? Or you're just not affected by that because of your hyper-focusedness?
No, definitely affected. When David Beckham posted that on his story, I literally couldn't breathe. I literally stopped for a second. It was definitely a massive moment. I didn't expect him to post it. Of course, he was never going to tag me. I didn't expect that. But just the fact that it was on his story, I was like, I made that and the world is seeing it. It was before my TikTok blew up or anything. So that was the first real, this is absolutely incredible. I wanted to get it framed. It was absolutely amazing. And then I only saw later that The Sun had spoken about it. And obviously I called The Sun and I was like, this is me, can you credit me? And they did. And no, it was so amazing.
Did you know you were making it for David Beckham?
Yeah, no, I did know, but I never expected him to post it. I think I just stumbled across it and then I got floods and floods of Instagram messages of it being like, oh my God, he's posted your brownie. It was really amazing. The thing is, people don't alert you of anything. They don't say we're going to do this. So with the under 40 Jewish entrepreneurs, I didn't know it. Someone sent it to me. And of course, I was so honoured and I saw the other people on it and I was just like, I shouldn't be on it. When you guys followed me on Instagram, my brother said, Olba just followed you. And I was like, what? I was like, that's so cool. I was like, what? That's amazing. And then when you asked, I think he got a bit confused and he was like, I think they want an interview. And I was like, why do they want an interview with me? Obviously, I follow so many people and I look up to so many people out there that have grown such amazing businesses and then I look at me I know we've grown and we've done really well, but it is a real pinch me moment because people take me as seriously as they take the other person and they really love my work and it's just all such positive comments and it just motivates you even more, to be honest.
I think I found you scrolling through TikTok. And I just remember, I think you must have had it was one of your TikTok videos where you must have had 30, 40 cakes in that giant cake fridge that you got. Yeah. And you're literally boxing up these cakes. And I'm just like, wow, that is amazing, right? Just to be able. And then I just started to look through more of your TikTok feed, which is incredible. Actually, it's incredible what you've done with TikTok as well. Actually, we should talk about your growth on social media too. That goes hand in hand with this. But the volume of cakes and the different the variants as well. I don't always see on my feeds, and maybe it's just how it's curated for Alba, but just seeing bakeries who are pumping out loads and loads of cakes and very bespoke and beautiful cakes as well and very different. They're not just cookie cutters of one style, etc. You're doing very different things. So for me, I said to have you, oh my God, I've got to talk to this girl. It's just incredible. And also I think because of your age, I think what stands out to me is that, am I right? You're in your early 20s somewhere.
Yeah, I'm 24.
24. There's a lot of sacrifices that go into building a business like what you're doing right now. And to be doing that at 24 and having that dedication and focus, there's probably lots of things that you're missing out on that perhaps your friends are doing on the weekend or other things. And I think that's what stands out, because to build something like this with your brother, you make sacrifices.
Yeah, no, of course.
Every day, right? And there's probably lots of things where you're like, oh, I wish I could have done that. I can't do that. Sorry, I've got orders. I can't. The weekends are my busiest time. No, I can't come to this party. Are you saying no a lot to focus on your business?
Do you know what? I think that's the one thing me and my brother have done really well. We don't say no a lot. So how we've worked it out is that, so obviously we have deliveries on our weekends. Like I did 5 hours of deliveries on Sunday, my brother did Saturday. We've just got a van coming, so I can't wait to never do a delivery again. But how we've done it, obviously when I go home, it's not a 9 to 5 like my friends. I don't switch off and then not have to think about work, not have to look. Some people do have to still look at their laptop or whatever, but because I love what I do so much, it gives me pleasure. It's my hobby. Like sometimes no one loves going into work every single day. Of course, I would love to not one day, but I just think because I do love it, and sometimes I have to remind myself that I'd rather be sitting at a desk, but I could not think of anything worse personally than sitting at a desk and not moving. Like I need to be on my feet. I need to be creative, doing different things. I hate like repetition and stuff like that. But with the whole no thing, I think, we just don't say no. I think a downfall in comparison to my friends is that I do have to constantly think about work. And like yesterday, me and my brother I know it's bank holiday, but we had like a meeting for a few hours about the website. And I just think because I love what I do so much that it's not really, I feel like saying no isn't the biggest deal for me. Yeah, at one point I thought maybe of moving back to Israel and taking my business there. Or like, did I start a business too early? Like I really wanted a travel kind of thing. And I was like, have I started this business too early? Shall I leave it now? Or have I built this business? And is it giving up everything I've worked on? Like I had a real like moment of deliberation. And then in January, I mean, obviously it's been doing so well, but from January, it's proper taken off. We're building a new kitchen now. Like we need to grow a lot faster than we have been to keep up with it all, because we don't want to say no to orders. So I think it's so exciting that I'm not saying, I love being social and I love my friends, but I do love entrepreneurship and business and those conversations rather than, oh, what you're doing on the weekend, or like, oh, who's like hanging out with who type thing. Like I am much more interested and driven by that. So I'm more comfortable around like business and just focusing on what I love to do, really.
Do you feel like you are inspiring or supporting other people in your age group to sort of go out there and do something like this? Do you get messages from people asking about the business side of things, or like, you know, from other young entrepreneurs? I'm just curious because you there is exposure for you now. You know, people are finding out about you more and more each day. So I'm just wondering if people approach you for the other category of things rather than just the decorating baking side.
So people do message me on Instagram and I help as much as I can. Like I love helping people because I want help. Like I want to go to these big companies and ask, what should I do next? Even though we obviously have a plan, but like I said, we're building a kitchen at the moment and I want to ask Lola's, like I did like a Lola's factory tour online. Like I want to ask, what benches should I be getting? Like food safe, all this stuff. I don't know, do I? I have no idea. What's the most efficient way of having a kitchen to get the most out of the kitchen and produce the most, blah, blah, blah. So I know that if I want that from someone, I want to be as giving as I can be. I will help people. I will tell them where I get everything from. Like I really want to help people. So at first with TikTok, that's what I was doing. I was hacks to get your cakes really smooth, no air bubbles, that type of thing. But I find people just comment a lot on my videos like, I wish I could be like you. And one day I'll have 20 cakes in my fridge. And I reply saying, you will. I started this 2 years ago and I had 1 cake in my fridge. I was like, I promise you, I'm nothing special. Like I'm not someone with 10 years of any history. Like if I can do it, you can do it. And I believe, and I say to my friends sometimes, if you're creative, I think if you have an arty background, you can do what I do easily. I had no, like a baking a cake as a recipe. It's obviously got to taste unbelievable. Once you've nailed that, that's all it is. If you can do art, I believe you can do what I do. And yeah, like I just think I want to be as much there for people so that they don't have to do like nothing on Le Cordon Bleu or anything, but They don't have to do all these courses and pay money. Like, I'm completely self-taught. I learn online. You can do it. Like, we live in a world now where it's so easy it's not easy, but you have so much materials at your fingertips to learn from. Take advantage of it. You don't need to do an online course. You really don't. Like, it's just a way of making money, really. Like, just look at hacks and quick things. And that's why TikTok's incredible. Like, I learned most of my things from TikTok.
I think it's a confidence thing too. Like, for a lot of people, they do need some instruction to get them going, or even just that environment where they can ask questions, because they may not have the confidence or self-esteem or the imposter syndrome around it. There's definitely room for that course-driven structure, whether it's virtual or in person, whatever you want to do or what appeals to you, right? But you're absolutely right. You can still go off and learn fundamentals and basics. My hobby is coffee. I love creating coffee, latte art, and doing all that. That's like my little side thing that I just never get tired of doing. And I have a coffee machine in the other room that's disassembled in parts right now, because after I get off this call, I need to go get some parts for my machine to fix it. But the point is that, I think with some people you can do it to a point, and then with others you can't. Like, I watched so many YouTubes on learning how to do latte art, but I could still never master it until I sat down with someone in front of a professional espresso machine and they taught me that. So for me, that worked out really well. But I absolutely agree with you that you have no excuse these days to just wait for something to happen. Everything is in front of you, right? Yeah. And the drive comes from within to go. And I think that's really what has driven it for you, is that you've internalized this ability to just set a path for yourself. You've got no previous work experience. It's not like you've had a previous career or anything like that. You didn't even know what you wanted to do with your degree. So this is a great example of just setting a mind and a path and then just executing on it without stopping to think about, is this necessarily the right thing or not? I'm just going to do it and see where it goes. So it's really interesting. We should talk about the TikTok thing though for a minute, because, I'll be honest with you, we have a TikTok, but we're rubbish at it. Our Instagram fares far better than it does on TikTok. Maybe I'm a bit too old to understand how it all works on TikTok. I don't know. You've excelled at that really well. And yes, there's a lot of randomness. Like, some of your TikToks will get just a little bit of views, and then you'll throw out one that does like 40 million. It's probably not, you obviously did not look at that and think that was going to go ballistic, right?
Yeah.
But how do you approach TikTok? Or do you just incorporate it as part of your day? Because the content that you do seems to be on the job. I'm always doing stuff. So how do you do that? Who helps you put these together or records it? Or when does the ideas come and say, well, I'm going to be doing this today, so I need to make time to do these TikToks as a part of it? How does it work?
So firstly, I just want to say that with my Instagram, I tried really hard, and I had my camera up all the time, even in my family home. I'd constantly video, and I'd see all these other baking companies, like young entrepreneurs at home, doing TikTok, Instagram, and they would do so well. And I'm like, my content is good. Like, I believe in my content. I think it is really great. Why is it not performing? And then someone said to me, try TikTok. Just give it a go. Like, you have nothing to lose. Just post, and just see. Like, apparently the algorithm on TikTok is still organic, whereas the one on Instagram obviously is awful. So I was posting on TikTok, wasn't doing very well. I was just getting into the hang of it, copying other people, like hacks of cakes in the summer, like what to do and stuff like that. I think it wasn't, when you're in something, it's very hard to obviously be subjective and to know what actually looks cool. Like, when I look at a cake, I have to look away for like a few minutes to look back and see if it actually looks good, because you're staring at something for so long. So it's obviously, when you're within something, it's hard to see what is really cool. So I think one day, obviously, like, the cake fridge grew and grew. We went from a home small one that could fit 6 to half of our commercial one, which could fit like 15. And then we started using both sides of the fridge, and I would open it and be like, this is a gallery. Yeah. This is incredible. Like, how have I done this? And it was the quantity, seeing them all grouped together. I was like, I'm not boxing them up. I don't want to keep staring at this. It's amazing. And then one day I was like, let's just do like a video of me putting each cake in the box. So my brother would video me opening the fridge. We'd put each cake into the box. And this was when we still had half a fridge. It was still small. I posted on TikTok. I got, I think, about 30,000 followers from it. It's still one of my pinned on my TikTok, because it's just like the OG one. And it's got like 7 million views. And I just couldn't believe it. Like me and my brother obviously shared the TikTok account. So we called each other being like, you seeing what's happening right now? Like it was just amazing. And then we were like, right, we found it. Let's stick to it. So every week the cakes got bigger, more interesting. The fridge got fuller. And I would just do a video of me opening the fridge. And people just were absolutely hypnotized by it, just thought like, this is amazing. How has she done this on her own? And at that point I was completely doing it on my own. It was obviously a big task because this was on a Friday. It was so busy. We'd video all the cakes, putting all the cakes in. We'd then have to put all the allergens in each cake box and write like the number where it's going. Like it was the whole thing, but it was worth it because the video just turned out so amazing. So we've kept doing that. And then it wasn't until the video that's got 47 million views is one of like a dog, and I'm like cutting a hole into this wedding cake so it looks like the dog has eaten the cake.
Yeah, it looks like you got two sides, right? So
yeah, and they're like munching at the cake, and it was such a cool idea, but that completely blew up. It didn't get me as many followers as like my other ones. It still got me like probably a few tens of thousands of followers, but I just found that's clearly what they like. I'm going to keep doing that. And then when I do it, I didn't think anything of it. I'm taking 2 cakes to the box. Then I'd get comments, oh my God, she's holding 2 cakes at the same time.
Oh yeah, I've seen you do that. You're holding one and you're grabbing the other one out of the tray.
I can run down the road with a cake. I have so much confidence in the stability of my cakes. Obviously, when I give it to someone, I'm like, be careful. But I balanced one on my head once. Like, it's a quick process. You have to be quick. And they thought that was so amazing. And they were like, I can't even carry one. Like, I'm scared to carry one. You're carrying 2, juggling the cakes. So I think it's just little things that gain major traction. So I try to be a bit weird with like some of the things I do. I made like a Stranger Things cake the other day. You have to like turn it upside down. And I was like, let me try to do this with one hand. And people were like, how with one hand? But
and I also think it's your confidence with your decorating, because I know I was watching that Stranger Things cake where you turn it upside down, and at first you're like, what on earth is she doing? Because it looks like you do
straight
it
to the
completely
comments.
wrong. I thought like that's going to be like a TikTok fail or something like that. But then your confidence with your design, it looks like you're just literally going from one cake to another, which I know in real life that is happening. But it's that inner confidence with, all right, I just need to pick up. And you're decorating in probably 10-minute blocks. And it's just, you have that inner belief in your capabilities, but it's also probably because you've got time constraints. And if you just had that one cake for the day, you'd probably obsess over it the same.
yeah.
I know when I've done volume cakes, it's just, you don't think about things because you're just like, I've got to get this done. It's got to get out the door. It hasn't got time for me to think. And sometimes those are when the best cakes come along in regards to design, when you're just in that flow state. And is it like that for you? Because it looks like on your videos that you are literally just picking up the piping bag and going with a design, which ends up being amazing, and then picking up the next piping bag and going along.
Yeah. So now we have 2 employees. So someone will build the cakes, someone will do the first coat, obviously the crumb coat, and then I'll get involved and help with the colour coat and sometimes the drips, but they'll like do the drips if there's drips or whatever. And then I will just bang out all the decorations. So I'll probably do like 20 decorations in one day. Since we've been going like 2 years, we've had a number of popular cakes that we've turned into set cakes because people obviously like them. Those set ones I could literally do in under a minute, but I don't have a choice, I have to. And then the ones that aren't set and it's up to you what to do, when I made my first ever cake, I stared at the blank canvas for about an hour. I was like, shall it go there? Shall I do a dot there? Like, just go with it. Confidence, just do it and it will look amazing. Like, if you have the confidence, it will always look good. You can do a cake 30 different ways and each cake will be original. You don't have anything comparing it to. It will just look great. I find it difficult when a customer says, can I have a rose bottom left 2 centimeters from the right? And I'm like, the cake's not going to look good. And the cake doesn't look good. And that's what they've asked for and they've been particular. And sometimes when they ask for drafts, like, can you do me a sketch? I'm like, no, because my thought can be very different then. And while I'm doing it, like maybe I want to add something and it will look better. So it does just come to me. I do rarely get stuck with what to do. I think because I've just been doing when you do so many, it just comes to you. I just think it's all about practice. And when you do anything hundreds and hundreds of times, you're good at it.
And I think it's just the way your brain works, because we've spoken to people on the podcast who actually, they spend a lot of time like designing it or sketching it and thinking through, and that's their process of how they're going to decorate it. They need to visualize and put it down. I'm definitely in your camp where I don't overthink things. If I overthink things, that's when I have issues with my decorating.
Yeah.
And like you said, it doesn't end up looking right. And my best flow state is just going, and actually people giving me that creative freedom. But I know each one of us are very different when it comes to applying designs and thinking through. And it's very hard, especially if you've got customer input, the more that they put on, which is probably the better way that your website is set up. It gives customers enough choice to feel like they have some control over color input and design.
Yeah.
But it also gives you freedom as well to come up with your design as well.
Yeah. I also find when people send a picture and say, can it look like this? I get very like, if I do something a little bit different, they could easily be upset with it. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do exactly the same. And sometimes the way a photo is taken, it can look a lot more extravagant. So it's difficult when someone asks to like copy a design of someone else. I know that I've listened to some of your podcasts where people say they don't like to copy other people. But I just think I would shout someone out if it's like a design I've never seen before and it's like completely original. And I've seen people copy my stuff and I know mine's original. But I take it as like a nice comment, like it's a compliment, isn't it? Like you're copying me. I'm not going to be like, oh, you stole my stuff. I'm honoured that you've seen that and you like it enough to recreate it. And if you don't shout me out, so be it. But like, the cake industry is quite new with like doing buttercream instead of fondant. So everyone thinks they have their own like original stance on things. But I just think we all need to support each other, big each other up. And if you like a design that someone's done, just take it as a compliment rather than you've taken what I've done.
Well, we always hear that the most popular customer is the one that just says, just do what you want.
Yeah.
Like, full trust in you, full faith in you. You'll generate something. I've got to ask you though something, Amy. So you do vegan, you do gluten-free, you do eggless cakes, right? I haven't spoken to many bakers that just cover the whole lot here. Is this because you're now in a commercial unit? It's just easier to implement that kind of setup and procedure to generate, like, for example, gluten-free, right? We're in a whole different category of risk and such. So is that when you started doing it, or have you just always from the outset been asked about it and just thought, okay, I'll take that on as well?
We have always done it. My brother likes to do everything and does not like saying no ever. So if someone wants, like, so all those dairy-free, like all alternative cakes, they're all vanilla. But if someone's like to him, oh, please do a gluten-free chocolate, he'll be like, oh, okay. And I'm like, no, you have to draw a line. So we used to offer carrot cake, which was incredible. We don't offer anymore. But we're gonna bring that back in, because if you do too many sponges, it's just too much. But at home, we offered gluten-free. So dairy-free, our sponge is dairy-free anyway. So that's easy. It's just the buttercream. Yeah, so gluten-free, dairy-free, eggless and vegan are obviously the same as well, because our cakes are dairy-free anyway. So we have always offered it. They are very popular. I mean, eggless they're also popular. And I don't really like gluten-free stuff at all, but we get comments saying that, is it actually gluten-free? We don't believe you. Like, it doesn't taste gluten-free. It's so good. And I like, promise you it's gluten-free. But in terms of like mixing, cross-contamination and stuff, we do put on all our cakes and in our website that we work in a kitchen that handles everything, even like the whole nut situation. So we can't guarantee cross-contamination. It's basically like things that say may contain milk. Everything is may contain. So when we do speak to someone with a severe nut allergy, we say it's the same as going to a shop buying a chocolate and it says may contain, because obviously we can't guarantee. We're not Lola's and have a separate gluten-free factory. We don't have any of that. So we work with what we've got.
Can we talk about the corporate side of your business? Because I know that you work with some big corporate clients, supermarket chains, tech, beauty, fashion brands. I remember seeing your big iconic, what was it, the benefit cake?
Oh, that was like 1.5 meters tall.
Yeah, cake I've ever done.
Did these brands come and approach you? And how important have they been for your business? Because we've heard before that there's quite a bit of margin that you can pack in here when you're dealing with more corporate clients, because they're often after a big volume.
Yeah.
So two sides, like, did they approach you or did you approach them? And then how from a business side does that support you?
We have amazing Google ads. So basically we play a bit with like Instagram and Facebook ads, but then we came to realize if someone's on Facebook and they see a cake, they're not going to be like, oh, I need to remember next year on my mum's birthday, I should get that cake. So we've played with Google Ads in the sense of if you type in cakes near me, we will be very high up. Or if you type, and our SEO is amazing. So if we've got a bunch of themed cakes, for example, Paw Patrol, someone's looking for a Paw Patrol cake, they type in Paw Patrol cake, we do come up because we named all our cakes in a certain way, which is just done amazing. And I think with corporate, even though we've had some, like I did a cake for Paul Rudd in Reading, and they typed in cakes near me, like bespoke cakes near me, and we somehow came up. So I don't know about that, but our corporate cakes, I do find most of them find us online, and we have an amazing review page. Like everyone, it's 5 stars, like our reviews are amazing. So I think once the cake comes up and then they see our reviews, they're like, yeah, like we'll go with them. And we have amazing customer service. My brother, he's very strong about having really good customer service. Like he will talk to people for ages on the phone, replies to their emails in such detail. Like he really does love that side of things. He thinks obviously it is incredibly important to leave a great taste. So we, with corporate, I guess people like dealing with people that are very attentive. They care a lot, and at the end of the day, we want to deliver a great cake. So these corporate deals, they find us online. Like M&S, we did one that was in London Colney, so it was quite nearby. They just found us online. And then the Benefit one, it's kind of hard to know where things come from because we have like a subscription type thing with Space NK. They'll send out a bunch of our cakes to their influencers. So it could come from there. Like we don't really know. I do believe Google Ads is where it is. But the Benefit cake, they requested a 1.5 meter tall cake. Only ever done a 4-tier cake before. So to figure that out was really hard. I had to walk down like steep stairs I did it in parts. So I did a 3-tier bottom one. It was the scariest thing ever. And then I put the next 3 tiers on top of the cake, cracked the cake a little bit, but I covered it up so you couldn't see. But that was amazing. But our corporate cakes have done so well, and I love doing them because when like Rare Beauty come to me and ask for a cake, I'm like, oh my God, like 3 people, a clothing brand that I absolutely love. I was honoured. And I was like, I'll exchange the cake for some clothes. You don't have to pay for it. I love doing the corporate side of things, definitely.
It's very cool. It's amazing. What was the size of the board that you put on the Benefit cake on the very bottom?
I think it was a 21 inch or something.
Yeah.
This cake was
massive.
Anyone who's listening to this has to really go find it on Amy's TikTok page because it is absolutely incredible. And also, actually, the M&S one you did, because that was the Haribo one, right? Not Haribo, they're Percy Pigs, sorry.
Yeah, they supplied all the Percy Pigs. That was very nice because they had to fill like a 10-inch box of Percy Pigs. They ended up giving me like over 100 bags of Percy Pigs.
I bet the staff loved that.
Yeah.
Exactly, and the family.
But it's interesting how I think having your brother on board as well, that's really helped target from a business side and helps you stay focused. And I'm sure you're very heavily involved in that as well, but helps you stay laser focused on the cake side of it, whereas he can help do a lot of the outreach and helping you obviously setting up that web page, setting up your orders, then setting up Google Ads, doing a lot of the business outreach. You know, it's so difficult when it's just one of you, or if one of you doesn't know that skill set side of it. So it's an amazing partnership in that way.
Yeah.
Having the two of you targeting different avenues.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so good. Listen, we could go on here. There's obviously lots to talk about. But
you're so inspiring,
yeah.
Amy. You really are.
I could sit here forever, honestly. I want people to know that it's easier than you think. And that is that you can do it. It took me 2 years, and this time last year we weren't in a too dissimilar place in terms of the quality of our cakes. And I just think if you really are determined, you really can do it.
Before we go into a final round, what is your aspiration? What are you looking for? How to build this business? Do you and your brother have a vision? Do you think about like where do you want to take this business in 5 years' time, etc.?
I think at first, when I first thought about where I actually want to take the business a few years ago, I wanted it to be like a one-stop shop. Like I found it really intriguing how Moonpig or like card websites have at the end, you can add flowers, you can add wine, you can add chocolates, and they're all like obviously 5 times the price of the products. You go to the place with the cheapest thing, the card, £3, and then you add all these expensive things at the end. And I just think Amy's Bakehouse, a one-stop shop. You go, you buy the cake for your celebration, and then you get everything around it as well. So at the end, you add all these things on. Obviously, I then came to realize you have to have warehouses in place to stock all the bits. They obviously all need to arrive at once. Like it is a big task, and I see that definitely as an option for the future. But I just think at the moment, we always dreamt of having a shop, but we've gone back on that a bit and just think, is it worth the overhead? Because we're so bespoke and you need 3 days notice, you don't just go in and buy something. What's the point of having a storefront if it's just for exposure? So we have battled a few different routes in our head. I think at the moment, we're building a new kitchen. We're going to get more staff. We just really want to build and accentuate our brand and really focus on the brand side of things. We obviously want to grow rapidly, but we just want to think what route we want to go down. So we want to be like a Lola's, which I don't want to be. I'm just saying like that big, or like maybe a Flavor Town, which is a bit smaller and has shops around the area. But I just think you've got all these baking entrepreneurs at home that create all the new type of cakes, and none of them, some of course, but you don't see on like the London high streets any of them. And it's just like there is such a gap in the market for that, and it's just about taking that next step. You've got like the Flavor Town and Crumbs and Doilies, but they're all these short cakes with all these set designs, but you don't have any drip, that like these tall drip amazing cakes in the windows. So it's about who's going to get there first really. But it's very exciting, and we obviously have like a 5-year plan, but it does chop and change sometimes. And we need to see where the business takes up. You obviously need to, failing to prepare, you're just going to fail, aren't you? So obviously you need to prepare, but I just think you need to go with, you can't force things. And if the business is pushing in one direction, just go with it. Like that's all we've ever been doing, and we've done really well from that. So I think we're just going to stick to seeing where the market takes us.
Brilliant.
I'm so excited for you.
It's very cool. Very cool.
You and your brother, I think you'll go very, very far.
Oh, thank you very much.
No, thank you. Listen, let's end it with our quick fire round that we always do. I'm going to go first. First thing that comes to mind, you can explain it or you don't have to. It's totally fine. American buttercream, Swiss meringue buttercream, or ganache?
Well, I've only ever worked with American buttercream, so...
All right, we got my answer.
I'm very simple. All I could do is bake a cake.
You're not simple. I would never describe you as simple.
Definitely not.
One aspect of baking you won't compromise on?
There's so many.
It maybe your perfectionism says that there is no area where you can shortcut, Rach.
Yeah, like the icing has to be the smoothest thing you've ever seen in your life, and the sponge has to taste amazing, so you can't shortcut on anything.
There you go.
Do you have a baking book from your own bookshelf that you'd like to share?
Never had a cookbook.
We might have her own one day.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
There could be the Amy's Bakehouse.
Yeah. She'll just do like the TikTok version of it.
Exactly.
Who would you want to make your next birthday cake?
I think just to see one in person, Shell's Bells. That's how you say her name.
Yeah.
Just to be able to see one in person.
If she listens to this, which she might, she just made one for Carly, I Wish Upon a Cupcake, because Carly said it at the end of on her episode that she would like Shell Bells.
Oh, really?
So, Shell, if you are listening.
Wait, which one's the ones that I love? I mean, I love them all. They're all incredible. Yeah,
you should come down to the Cake and Bake Show in September at Excel. You'll get to meet her. She'll probably be there.
So I did the Cake and Bake Show. I did one when I first started baking, and I didn't know who anyone was. So Shell's Bells actually did a whole stand-up thing, like a tutorial. When I got home, I knew who she was, but I didn't know she was there. And I was pinching myself. I was like, I could have met her. I was so annoyed. I was just at the front. But I did do the Cake and Bake Show one year, yeah.
Look, we'll help put that together, right? If she's there and you say you're coming to the show, come find us because we're going to be there, and we'll connect the dots. You can go say hi. All right. Listen, thank you, Amy. That was brilliant. Really appreciate your time and chatting with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.
Oh, no, it's fantastic. You are inspiring. We've loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Cheers.
And that's a wrap for episode 19. Really hope you enjoyed that. Thanks so much, Amy, for coming on the show. You want to learn more about Amy? Maybe you want to order a cake? Check out the show notes for links and information to Amy's website, Instagram, and really cool TikTok as well. We're back next week with another spectacular guest. So please tune in for that. Don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button in your favorite podcast app so that you get notified when the next show comes out and you just don't have to remember to go find us somewhere. All right, well, take care. And don't forget, this podcast is brought to you by Alba, designed for bakers, the best packaging around. Take care. See you next week.